The Hare and the Tortoise. When Tortoise was very little, his mother said to him, "You will never be very fast. We tortoises are a slow-moving family, and though we may take longer, we do get there in the end. Don't ever try and run. Just remember, slow and steady does it." One day, when he was fully grown, he was slowly walking along, minding his own business, when he saw a hare come running across the field. Hare thought he would have some fun, so he ran around and around and around Tortoise just to annoy him. But this didn't upset Tortoise, so Hare stopped right in front of him and laughed. "I'm sure you can move faster than that," said Hare. "You'll never get anywhere like that. You should take a few lessons from me." Tortoise slowly lifted his head and said, "There's no place I really want to go, thank you, so I have no need to go hurrying around all over the place. You see, my thick shell protects me from animals that don't like me." Hare thought this would make life very dull. "I bet it takes you half an hour to cross one field," said Hare, "and I can be out of sight in half a minute. Anyway, you look silly, and you should be ashamed of yourself." This annoyed Tortoise, and he was getting a little angry with Hare. "Now look," said Tortoise, "if it's a race you want, then I'll give you one, and I don't need to be given a start either." With that, Hare started to laugh, and he laughed so much that tears were running down his furry face, and he ended up rolling over backwards. Tortoise quietly waited until Hare had finished before saying, "Well, will we have a race or won't we? I am very serious about this." By now, several other animals had gathered around, and they all said, "Go on, Hare, you'll have to race him." "Of course I will," said Hare. "Where shall we race to?" Tortoise used one of his feet to shade his eyes as he looked away across the field. "See that old barn on top of the hill over there? Well, we'll race to that. We can start from this tree here, and may the best one win." As soon as they were both beside the tree, the rooster shouted, "On your mark, get set, go!" And Tortoise began to crawl very slowly on his way, while the other animals hurried on ahead to be at the finish. Hare just stood beside the tree watching Tortoise moving slowly across the field. It was a sunny day, and he decided to sit and wait. He guessed it would only take a few minutes to reach the old barn, and that was without hurrying, so there was plenty of time to have a nap. After a few minutes had passed, Hare lazily opened one eye. He saw Tortoise hardly across the first field. Tortoise was saying to himself as he went along, "Slow and steady, slow and steady. That's what Mother said." Well, at the rate he's going, thought Hare, it will take him 2 hours if he doesn't fall on his face on the way. And he closed his eyes again and went back to sleep. After a while, Tortoise had crossed the first field and was slowly making his way across the next, still saying to himself, "Slow and steady." The sun began to go down, and Hare woke up feeling a little cold. "What's happened?" he thought. "Where am I?" And then he remembered. He stood up and looked towards the old barn. He couldn't see Tortoise, so he jumped onto a low branch of the tree, and there he was, halfway across the last field. Hare realized he must have overslept, and he had better get a move on. So he hurried across the first field, then the second, then the third. This was much farther than he had thought. At the barn, the other animals were all waiting, and at last, Tortoise arrived, very out of breath and a little shaky on his legs. "Come on, Tortoise," they shouted, and then Hare appeared at the far side of the last field, running as fast as he could. "Slow and steady," Tortoise was saying to himself. "Come on, Tortoise," cried some of the other animals, while few cried, "Come on, Hare, he's beating you." Hare put on extra speed and ran faster, but it was no good. He had given Tortoise too much of a start, and he still had several yards to go, while Tortoise was crawling across the line. Tortoise had won the race. All the other animals cheered, and Hare never laughed at Tortoise again. The lesson in this tale is that slow and steady will get you to your goals.